Greetings, America, or anybody who took the time to watch this, listen to this, whatever. To be completely honest, this is probably about the fourth or fifth time I've made this video, and this is just an introduction. This is just a hi, who I am, a little bit about me, and why I'm doing this. The reason it's taken so many times and opportunities is because as things change in the world, as you become exposed to different information here and there, um, it often changes, you know, what you're doing or your thoughts on, or opinions on certain things. So, without further ado, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Dan. I am 44 years old. Uh, Compulsion of language. I'm a heterosexual Caucasian male. Um, Under normal circumstances, I would use different adjectives, but due to the compulsion of language, I've had certain people inform me that I need to be careful with certain words because just the way that people respond and react immediately to those. Um, I'm originally from the Chicagoland area, lived all around the greater Chicagoland area. I graduated from a relatively large high school in 1994 from right outside Chicago. Being relatively low income, um, we were definitely low income, but I don't know that we were low on conduct. Uh, you know, College wasn't exactly affordable, so I did what most people in my position would do, and I joined the military. I served in the United States Marine Corps from February of 1995 to February of 2015 when I retired after 20 years of active service. Uh, I did 5 combat deployments as well as some other deployments prior to the events of 9/11. Um, my family was directly impacted during 9/11. One of our cousins was a firefighter with Rescue Unit 3 who perished on 9/11. Um, I have been to combat. I've been to Iraq 3 times. I've been to Afghanistan twice. I've seen more than some, less than others. I've done more than some, less than others. So I'm not going to sit here and attempt to toot my own horn over things that either did or didn't happen. I think it's synonymous with veterans, those stories that go, well, so there I was. You won't hear that from me. Depending on how this goes, I may tell some stories. Um, I'm relatively average as far as, I guess, income status or just as a person. Um, and part of the reason I introduced myself that way is because I'm a firm believer that we are the sum total of our experiences in life as well as the sum total of our actions. Um, and that can also include your decisions. As far as the way you're treated, the things that happen to you tend to be an accumulation of your actions, your decisions, and your experiences. And I wanted to be able to provide anybody who decides to watch this with an idea, some context as to the lens that I see the world through. You know, uh, Heterosexual, Caucasian, male, from a major metropolitan area. I'm also a father, and I'm also a husband. I'm still married, 16 plus years to this day. My wife and I had 3 kids, but we also suffered the indignified loss of a child. We're not alone in that. There's a lot of people who've done that. And when I say child, I mean not a child who grew to adult age and did some adult things, like several of the guys and girls I served with in the Marine Corps who lost their lives as due to the circumstances while serving their country. Our son was 7 years, 10 months, no, 7 years, 7 months. I could come back to that. I could do the math, but he was over 7.5 years old, and he had a lot of adversity in his life, and unfortunately, he lost his battle with his overall medical condition. So I've also experienced that, to include I've experienced life as a parent with a special needs child, as well as life in the service as a serviceman with a special needs child. And I've also had to suffer that loss. My son did pass away 7 days after I retired from the service. So I was a civilian for all of 7 days when my son lost his life. And then, whether coincidentally, whether you believe in divine intervention, fate, all these things, the year that I retired and the year that my son passed away was just an overall crummy year. I had tremendous difficulties attempting to find gainful employment, creating a network, and all things that I can get into later. So, giving you a bit of a foundation as to who I am and how I got to where I am and who I am as a person, to kind of give you some context to see how I might view the world. Why am I doing this? I can assure you it's not for fortune and fame, because I think I have maybe 100 friends on Facebook, if that, and I doubt I would accumulate that many followers on YouTube or Instagram. This is a twofold purpose. First and foremost, the job I would have, and let me back up on that one. Yes, obviously it's 2020. COVID-19 has been a major impact on everyone during 2020. Myself and my family, I was originally furloughed, which is different than being laid off. I can explain that one later if necessary. It took me a while to wrap my head around it. I even had to Google it. I was furloughed in early March, actually St. Patrick's Day of this year. And then, due to some complications with the overall client we work for, I'm a contractor, so in the contracting world, these things go back and forth. We were eventually terminated August 26th because the original companies we were working for were let go by the client. And since we were also in a hiatus where we weren't actually working, we were effectively terminated, which means if somebody else took over the project, we were free and clear to be hired by them. So I've also had quite a bit of time on my hands. But I provided you that information to say this. The job I'm hoping to return to, there's the potential for once a week where I have a captive audience for at least 6 hours or more, where I'm explaining certain benefits and services that they could earn through their service, which provides me an opportunity to have a captive audience where if I'm not careful, if I don't protect myself from myself, it's an opportunity to take advantage of that platform to insert some personal thoughts and opinions on topics. Specifically, as somebody who served in the military, as I'm talking to service members who are getting ready to exit the service, one of the things you're taught as an instructor in any instructor billet is relating to the audience and trying to create these tie-ins, how this information can work. And unfortunately, in my line of work, a big no-no is inserting some of those personal opinions. So I've sought help for that. And one thing my therapist did recommend was if I provided myself with a platform, with a, I don't want to say safe space, but like this, if I gave myself this, whether I physically post it online somewhere or just record these, it's an opportunity for me to at least express my thoughts and express my opinions. And by giving my thoughts and opinions a place to go, they won't be sitting there waiting to come out when I'm trying to do my job, where I will feel less compelled to express my thoughts and opinions when I'm doing my job, because there's another place for them to go. So that's one of the purely selfish reasons, is to help protect my job status should I get my job back. And then the other one is, over the last several years, I could probably argue the better portion of a decade, if not longer than that, it seems that we are becoming more and more tribal. It's like you're either Democrat or Republican. You're either red or you're blue. You're either left or you're right. You have to be one of these things. You have to fit into one of these categories. You have to embrace and wear a label. And even if it's something as so stupid as, well, you vote this way because of one particular issue. You could care less about 99% of stuff, but this 1% issue is huge. Therefore, you feel compelled to vote that way. I don't see that as a reason to draw these hard lines in the sand. I look at all the things going on, to include what's happening in Seattle and Portland and whatnot, and to me, what that is a lack of civility. You could probably use other adjectives. You could probably frame that a different way, but it's a lack of civility. It's a lack of common ground, a lack of common understanding. Just destroying the city and taking over city blocks. There's a loss of civility somewhere. We don't have to think alike. We don't have to agree on everything. We can openly differ in opinions, and I think we can still be civil. I think we can still have conversations where we agree on topics, we disagree on topics, we can even disagree passionately, but I think we can still be civil and still recognize you're a decent person, you're a decent human being, you're a productive member of society. I don't think we have to go as far as denigrating people to being less than human because we disagree. I'm very fortunate, though. I live in eastern North Carolina, outside of Camp Lejeune. Not to bury the lead, but yes, Jacksonville, North Carolina. It is a predominantly military town, whether active military or former military veterans. And we don't tend to suffer some of the same, consequences. So, like, the protests that lead to riots, the demonstrations that lead to violence. We don't seem to get that here. Several months ago, early summer, we had a BLM demonstration. I don't know if I'd call it a protest. They basically set up shop at the intersection of Western Boulevard and 17, and as far as I could tell, it was peaceful. I didn't hear any other reports that it was anything less than peaceful. And a lot of that is probably a testimony to the type of people that live in this town, where they abided by the law and they expressed their opinion. But not everybody can do that. And I have a lot of thoughts and opinions on various subjects. And what I would like to do, what I'm hoping to do, is not just selfishly provide myself a space to communicate these thoughts and opinions, but if I share them, I'd also like to open up the opportunity for discourse. I would like to see us get back to talking to one another, to include disagreeing. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where you could sit at a bar and disagree over who the best basketball player was. I think people like to disagree over Jordan or LeBron. Obviously, being from Chicago, it's going to be Jordan, but we won't go there. But just silly things, right? Like who was the best pitcher? Who was the best running back? It's human nature. As human beings, we are naturally driven to disagree with each other. One of the smartest things I ever heard while I was in the service was mankind did not invent war. War is a thing that existed way before man ever evolved. War was just waiting for man to find us. So, as a natural predisposition to being a human being, we are predisposed to naturally disagree. I mean, anybody who's even gone to college and taken like an introduction to sociology, you've probably heard of the basic conflict theory, which is very, very similar to Newton's third law. For every group of people that are in support of or for something, the universe will go ahead and produce an equal and opposite group of people who are against it, that oppose it. So, Newton's third law is probably one of the greatest gifts we were ever provided. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So with that being said, I would like to see us get back to talking to one another in a civil manner, have civil discourse. And I'll finish with this. One of the reasons I'd like to see us get back to civil discourse, again, it's not for my personal fame or fortune, because in all honesty, I would have no idea how to make money off of this. Anybody who knows me well enough knows I'm not smart enough to figure that out. If there was money to be made, it would happen ironically, because it wouldn't be intentionally. But it seems that no matter where you go, whether it's social media or even YouTube, I watch Michael Rosenbaum, I watch Steven Crowder, I watch Joe Rogan a lot. Love me some Joe Rogan, love me some Michael Rosenbaum. And then I love others like Steven Crowder and Dave Rubin and Candace Owens and a handful of others. But, you take Joe Rogan, for instance, right? Or even Michael Rosenbaum. They're just having discussions. Now, granted, they're having discussions with people at a higher level, as in celebrities. Okay, people who have reached celebrity status, whether it's internationally, nationally, small circle. It's not like Joe Rogan or even Michael Rosenbaum are having conversations with me. All right, but they're just having conversations, and they can agree and they can disagree. Especially Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan will get into anything, and I've even seen Michael Rosenbaum do the same thing. But like Joe Rogan's kind of like my mentor, if you will. He's kind of the guy I'm emulating, where he feels free to disagree, but he also wants to hear somebody else's side of it, and he, as far as I can tell, he does his best to keep it civil. But on the celebrity topic, I've noticed that a lot of celebrities are voicing their opinions over certain issues, and let's just say whether it's socially trending or it's politically trending, a lot of celebrities are voicing their opinion. And at one point in time, I thought that was unnecessary, but then I stopped and I realized, well, if I have an opinion, why can't they have an opinion? And I think one of the big differences is, first and foremost, I'm not a celebrity, so therefore I'm not in a position to influence. At best, I can maybe influence my wife and my kids and maybe a small group of friends, but, my daughter's a teenager, so I doubt I'm influencing her whatsoever. I think even with celebrities, some of them have some very militant, radical beliefs, which I find fascinating. But then I've also noticed celebrities, some of which I admire, whether it's their music or if they're actors, I enjoy their craft, whether it's television shows or movies, or even some athletes. Some of them have their opinions, but they're not militant about it. Like I can't really tell if they're married to the idea or not. Of like, hey, this is how I feel. Here's what I think. But I get the impression they may be open to discussion. Where I can definitely tell there are some celebrities that are way more fanatical, way more militant, and I find that fascinating because, as a celebrity, you're a celebrity. Not to overstate the word and the obvious, but you're also in a position to influence. And I've seen certain things, some of which fascinate me, like, hey, let's turn Texas blue. Why are you in Texas? Did you just recently move to Texas? Texas is predominantly known for being a red state for a reason. And if you like Texas because of the way Texas is, why not keep Texas the way it is? You left somewhere else for a reason. I gather that was a predominantly blue state. And if you didn't like that blue state because of what's going on, why would you go to a red state and be like, hey, thanks for taking us in, but we're here to change you into the place we left? That's where I kind of, I guess you could say, got the boot in the butt, and I was like, man, I know celebrities have endorsed people in the past, and I know celebrities have endorsed ideologies and opinions in the past, but I mean, when I start to notice fanaticism, when I start to notice radical thoughts, I don't know. It got me to thinking, could they have rational discussions? Are they equally rational people? I can't, nobody with any shred of common sense could not help but notice that, by virtue of being a celebrity, apparently you have to be anti-Republican. That just seems to be synonymous. I mean, the minority of celebrities that are Republican supporters or whatnot are completely and utterly dominated by the non-Republican or pro-Democrat, pro-left celebrities. And, watching Joe Rogan attempt to have these conversations, I've often wondered, are we as a people, because I'm not a celebrity, so I doubt that I would talk to any celebrities, are we equally as radical? Are we equally as fanatical? And can we have civil conversations? Can we have calm, rational conversations, even if we debate, dispute, and disagree with each other over the topics? Can we recognize ourselves as civil, rational human beings? And I honestly think the answer is yes. I think this experiment that we call America, with all of its faults and frailties and its flaws, I think is still a pretty damn good experiment. So much so that, I offered up my life to defend this idea of America. Now, my time in service has ended, but I'm still on recall for at least another 5 years. That being said, I do believe in America, and I do believe we are better. I do believe American citizens, and I also believe human beings have a greater capacity to be better than we're being portrayed in the media. So I would like to see us get back to having civil discussions. We don't have to agree, but if you took the time to watch this to its conclusion, I hope maybe you're willing to participate in these discussions, whether we agree or disagree, whether you want to type a comment or if you want to videotape a comment. I would like to see us creating dialogue between ourselves and opening the lines of communication, even if we disagree. Because who knows? Worst thing that could happen is we get to talking, we start finding common ground, and then maybe we could influence the elected officials so they don't have to separate into their little party corners. And I don't know, maybe we can invent new parties that are a little bit closer to the center versus far left and far right. Wishful thinking, I know, but America was a dream. America was a wish. We didn't always honor it at first, but maybe we can. Maybe we can get better. I think we can get better. So that's all I got.